supply chainers, wherever you are in the world. This is Sarah Barnes-Humphrey with you today. Are you ready? Let's talk supply chain. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Thoughts and Coffee. My name is Sarah Barnes-Humphrey. I'm the founder and host of Let's Talk Supply Chain, the Blended podcast, and the founder of the Blended Pledge. And today we have an exciting show for you. We're going to be talking about AI, right from wrong, who's doing it right, who's doing it wrong, who's still testing, which is probably all of us. But who better to talk to this about than Eric Johnson? He's going to be joining me in just a few minutes once we talk about what is happening at Let's Talk Supply Chain. So let's give a shout out to our show sponsor, Secret Society of Supply Chain. If you head over to secretsocietyofsupplychain.com, you can sign up for free. It's our free supply chain community membership group. We've also got Women in Supply Chain there as well. I want to give a shout out to some of our newest members. We've got AJ Raj, Heather Sai, David Margolin, Harry Bala, and then from last week, who I forgot to mention, and I just need to, there we go. We've got Barath, we've got Vidula, Lauren Mitchell, Christina, DeAndrea, Maria, and David again. So thank you so much for everybody who joined our community at Secret Society of Supply Chain. We have a lot of fun over there. We've got the link in the comments for you if you want to go and check it out. But now let's get to what's happening at Let's Talk Supply Chain. So we've got 2 brand new episodes for you this week. Episode 495. Now, I talked to Gray Orange about discovering hyper-intelligent orchestration. Now, this conversation was fascinating because we really dive into who they are, what they do, why it matters to you as a supply chain team or a supply chain leader. Go and check it out to find out more. I highly recommend you go and take a look at that. Episode 496, Bill from OneRail joined me alongside Adam from the National Wholesalers and Distributors. And we had a great conversation about what they are looking at, the future of routing, how they are bringing AI-empowered, human-led experiences into the wholesaler and distributor market, but also what are wholesalers and distributors really looking for? How are they looking to create that competitive advantage? How are they looking at their last mile delivery strategy and so much more? So go and check both of those out wherever you listen or watch the show. That's over on YouTube or Apple and Spotify. And then we've got some upcoming events. So right after this, I'm going to be jumping on with Supply Chain Brain. And we're going to be doing a webinar, how Hexcel uses integrated intelligence to stay resilient. Hopefully, I'm going to see you there at 11 a.m. Eastern. It's going to be a great conversation. We've got a lot to share with you. And then October 29th, 4:30 to 5:30, Katie Date is running a Standout to Get Hired workshop. So this is LinkedIn and resume mastery for supply chainers. If you haven't gotten your ticket yet, I think there's only a few spots left. So go and sign up. The link should be in the comments. November 6th, 1 p.m. Eastern, we are going to be sharing all of the conversations that I'm going to be having on site in Paris at Biz Now. And I can't wait to share that with you. It's going to be an hour-long LinkedIn Live event, and we're going to be showcasing some conversations with companies like Danone. We're also going to be talking about the senior execs with the senior execs over at Shipio. So stay tuned for that. Click the attend button. And in person, we're going to be at the Women in Supply Chain Forum November 18th through 20th. But on the 20th, Katie Date and I have a workshop happening. Plus, it is book launch day for me today, and I'm going to have some books available there. We're going to do a bit of a book signing, and we're going to be talking about self-worth. We're going to be talking about building confidence, community for women leaders, and so much more. So hopefully you can join us there. And then, of course, we're going to be at Manifest, and we're launching something next week. I can't tell you about it, but tune in next week because we're going to be launching something that's happening at Manifest, and it's super exciting. So hopefully we'll see you there in Las Vegas, February 9th through 11th. And Thursday at noon, I'm going live with Christine Barnhart to talk about my new book. This is launch week for me. Super excited. We're going to be talking about journeys to self-worth. It's not really about supply chain. It's going to be on my personal LinkedIn page. We're going to be talking about the book. I'm going to share some excerpts from the book, and we're going to be talking all about self-worth, the story behind the title of the book. Everybody's been asking me about that, and we're going to share that on Thursday. So hopefully you click the attend button and join us there. All right, I think I've got one more thing before we bring up. Oh, yes. Well, today is book launch day, and I want to let you know the QR code in the top right-hand corner if you want to go and get your copy. I think we've got the Kindle version at 99 cents just for maybe today, maybe tomorrow. I'm not entirely sure. Go get your copy. I would love to hear from you. Again, this is not a supply chain book. This really is something that I've been working on for the last year. It's a memoir about finding my voice and the power of being heard. And I hope you join me on that journey. All right. Now it's time to bring up Eric Johnson. Good morning. How are you?
I'm great. How are you? Congrats on the book launch.
Thank you. I'm excited and terrified all at the same time.
You should be, but that's a huge accomplishment. I've never had the, it's not about me, but I've never had the focus to be able to actually sit down and write a book. So I work better in 500 word increments. So super impressive. And congrats on the Blue Jays, by the way, making the World Series.
I know. I actually wasn't up. I was super tired last night, and I wasn't up for the Springer dinger. But let me tell you, when I saw the highlights this morning, I was very, very, very happy.
Hear the crowd from your place. Yeah.
My husband told me this morning, he was like, it happened, and I went to go, and he remembered I was sleeping, and he was like, oh, yeah. He totally whispered. And then he called, he called my stepson, he called his brother, he called his uncle and all that kind of stuff just to make sure he went to the other side of the house. But we are super excited. This is the first time in 30 years or something like that. And if you don't know,
I do feel bad for the Mariners fans. This was one of those things where it was going to be very sad for one.
It was going to be very sad for one. Yeah. Toronto needed this, though. Toronto needed this. So anyways, congratulations to the Toronto Blue Jays. First time in 30 years. Let's have a repeat of, what was it, 91, 92, 93?
I forget which year it was. Just go beat the Dodgers. I hate the Dodgers.
So. All right. I mean, we don't need to go that far. Anyways,
I hate the Dodgers. So I have the right to say I hate the Dodgers.
If anybody is watching, let us know where you're watching from. I want to give you a shout out. Plus, if you like this conversation, we like some fire emojis here at Thoughts and Coffee. So give us some fire emojis in the comments. All right, Eric, for anybody who doesn't know who you are, can you introduce yourself, please?
Sure. I am the senior technology editor at the Journal of Commerce, which is a publication that caters to the shipping, trade, and logistics industry. And then in my spare time, I host a show on your network every second and fourth Friday of the month, where I talk usually about technology, but sometimes I talk about trade policies. Sometimes I talk about
we need all the
operations, a little bit of everything these days. So
yeah. And we need all the things, and we appreciate your show. A lot of people, we get a lot of great feedback on your show, and you're actually going live this Friday as well. And it's interesting. We're talking about AI, but not in the way that, we've been talking about AI. Eric and I are going to be talking about it way differently, but then you're also going to be talking about it in a different context on Friday. You want to tell everybody about that?
Yeah. So I have I think this is my fifth show this year that's focused on an AI focused software provider that's helping the logistics industry sort of make some process more efficient or increase the capacity of logistics teams to kind of do more. So this definitely falls into that group. One interesting element is the founder is going to be talking to me about creating organizational memory, is the way he describes it. So a lot of companies and people within companies have information in their head or locked away in some, compartment that's not accessible to the rest of the organization. And so, he's going to talk about using AI as a way to sort of unlock that and make it, available essentially to a bigger group of people within the organization. So I thought that was interesting.
Awesome. That is going to be interesting. I'm laughing because one of the people in the audience said, where is the fire emoji? So they want to give us a fire emoji, but they're not entirely sure where it is. And I usually, with the fire emojis, I think there's a symbol that you can use. You'd probably have to Google it. Or if you're on your phone, you can use the fire emoji.
Or just ask your AI assistant to help you with the fire emoji, since that's what we're talking about today.
Well done. I see what you did there, Eric. I see what you did there. All right. So let's get to the poll of the week. So we ask our community a question every single Wednesday morning. And this question was, which part of your network has helped you the most this year? We had 70 votes. 31% of you said industry peers. 29% of you said colleagues turned friends. 21% said former coworkers or classmates. And 19% said mentors or advisors. It's a bit close there between former coworkers or classmates and mentors or advisors. And I think mentors or advisors being 19% is a little surprising to me because we talk about mentors, advisors, sponsors like all the time. And so I'm a little shocked that not as many people have that. Anyways, what do you think about this?
So I think there's one that's not on here that I would have actually voted for is family. So family gives you the space to like create the opportunities to connect with people. I've been to too many events this fall, and the only reason I'm able to go to those events is that I have a family that like understands the importance of traveling. If not for them, I wouldn't be able to make the connections that I make in person, which turn into, valuable things for me and my company. So I would nominate family.
That is so true. We're going to have to make a note of that. And we're going to have to include family if we ever ask that one again, because I would agree with you on that one. Recently, I've been traveling more with my husband, and he's been doing some behind the scenes and stuff like that, which is amazing. But prior to that, I was doing a lot of travel on my own. And we have a whole community that sort of supports us when we travel because we've got dogs at home that need to be taken care of. We've got dog walkers who really take care of the dogs. They sleep over because I don't leave the dogs alone. I'm a little bit of a, I don't.
We have our dog sitter. Our dog sitter is our house sitter too, because the dog needs to be home in her comfy confines. So
yeah,
I'm you mentioned the Shipio event. I'm also going to be there, and I'm also bringing the family that time.
Yes, you are.
No more trips without you guys this year. So they're like, we want to go to the Paris one. So
yes, and we're going to see you there. I think we're going to go out for dinner. So everybody stay tuned. We're going to take all the photos. All right. Now's the time of the show that we do a bit of a market update. What have you got to tell us? What's happening in the market? What do people need to know? Inland just happened just a couple of weeks ago. I did some great interviews there. I think you can find some of that on your website. Let everybody know where they can find that. Should be on your website. But also, what's the update since I left you at Inland?
JOC.com would be the place to find all of the reporting that we did at Inland in the week that followed. I'm going to focus on the positive, right? There's been so much negative in our market, and I think most people are sort of bracing themselves at least on the international side for a slowdown in volume, just because the tariffs are creating a lot of uncertainty, and probably a lot of cargo was brought in early in 25 to avoid what people worried about happening later in the year. But there was an economist who spoke at Inland, and I was at an event last week in near the Port of Virginia, where another economist, a woman who the VP of the Richmond Federal Reserve, and they both talked about there being some solid signs in the U.S. economy, at least, that may appear more solid than we're reading, kind of that we read day to day. So I'm taking that as a sign that maybe the economy is not as in a precarious condition as some people sort of think it is. And yes, we may have a period where trade volume is not going bonkers, but it's not going to drop, completely off of a cliff and disappear. We still have huge amounts of trade volume that are coming through. So
that's good to know. I'll take that, Eric. I'll take that any day.
Don't hold me to it 6 months.
Why not? Yeah. I told Paul, because I was I interviewed Paul Bingham at Inland, and I was like, so your predictions from last Inland, how are we doing this year? He's like, I got them completely wrong.
Yeah, we wouldn't be a forecaster if we got everything right. So.
I want to give a shout out to John in Tampa and Sam in Delaware. Philadelphia area, joining us over on my personal LinkedIn. All right. So my market update is to really set the tone for this conversation around AI. Now, you might be thinking we're going to be talking about AI and supply chain, but we're not. What I want to do with this particular episode is talk about how AI is being used in other industries so that we can think about how we can also use it in our industry, but also what's going right, what's going wrong, what can we learn from it? Because I think it's important, right? AI, 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 that's all we're hearing these days. And I want to make sure that we are really taking a step back and looking at it in different lenses to make sure that what we're doing is actually going to work for us in this industry. So, a couple of market updates. You might be wondering what's to have to do with supply chain. Ohio has put in a bill to ban marriage between humans and AI chatbots. Now, you might be wondering, what does that have to do with us? Well, there's a lot of people who are relying on AI and AI chatbots for a variety of different things, not only in their personal life, but in their professional life. And these are the types of things that the federal government, or at least local government, are having to think about and do. OpenAI is to release tools to make it friendlier because of this, which is very interesting. And number three is you can actually shop Walmart via ChatGPT now. They actually just announced that a few days ago. I don't know what that looks like. I haven't tried it. If you've tried it, let us know in the comments because I'd love to hear how it works. But it's really interesting, right? If we're going to start shopping Walmart through ChatGPT, what does that mean for AI? What does that mean for LLM integrations? What does that mean for your messaging getting out there? Where do you need to be? You need to be seen on LLMs, right? Not just SEO and through Google and things like that. So thought I would mention all of that. I don't know if you have any thoughts before we get into our first article.
But we can loop. We'll get bogged down. We have too much to cover, I think. So
okay.
I can loop in my thoughts on that stuff when we talk about the other things. So.
All right, let's get to the first one. So the first article is about an AI advocate in healthcare. Now they're talking about bringing this. This one company just got a really big round of funding. I think it was $30 million. And it actually breaks down in healthcare where the money is going and how companies are actually amalgamating within healthcare to cover the AI space and to actually take advantage of the money and the private equity funding that's coming into the industry. It's talking about how this AI advocate is going to help guide and create human-centric experiences. I have some questions about this, but I want to ask you what your thoughts were on this and how you think it relates back.
Well, it's interesting you sent me this article because I know a few people in tech, not even through work, just that are friends and acquaintances who have been working on AI stuff in the insurance industry and in the healthcare industry. And these are two industries that are super opaque, super frustrating. Everybody feels like they pay a lot and get very little in return for them. And so they seem to be perfect areas to tackle. In terms of having an assistant, I think it's super interesting that they're calling it an advocate because, the message that I know you've been through this yourself, right? The message that has come through in terms of navigating the healthcare industry these days is you have to be your own advocate, right? Like you can't just let the system sort of toss you around like a rag doll and do with you what they will, right? And so the idea that you would have essentially a computer program that would understand how it needs to advocate on your behalf sounds actually very interesting to me, because most people don't have the time or the willpower to actually advocate enough for themselves. Whereas an AI agent or an AI helper doesn't feel emotions, it doesn't get tired, it doesn't get distracted, it doesn't
take
get
it
frustrated,
personally.
take it personally. They just keep plugging away until they get the answer that they think they need for you. So that's kind of cool.
Well, and I think about supply chain teams, I think about organizations that have supply chains, and I think about how this could potentially have a major impact on HR and
Yeah.
how we run
Oh,
our
big
teams
time.
and what that
Big
looks like, right? Because we also talk about people advocating for themselves within teams and being able to bring ideas forward or advocate for themselves in different types of situations. And so that's how I think we can bring this over. But I think this brings up a really good point around security of the data.
Sure.
So you know, you're going to create experiences, help guide, et cetera, around somebody's data.
And not
And the
just data,
data,
but like the most personal data, like their health
this is what I
record.
mean, right?
Well, okay, so I would just say every single provider of any type of AI centric tool, whether it's in logistics, supply chain, healthcare, whatever, like the absolute bare minimum right now is you have to be able to explain to the user how and why their data is not going to be used in an inappropriate way. So like that's just square one. Like if you are exposing that data in a way that you're not supposed to, you have no business like asking for a customer, basically.
Yeah,
That's
but it's
just
not only that, right? But who owns that data? So you're going to give up that data for this AI advocate, but then who owns it at that point? Because essentially what you're talking about is you're giving away your own very, very personal data that is very personal to you, and you're going to be giving that away. And so I just want to also bring that up in the fact that as we get into AI and you're talking to LLMs, you're talking to chatbots, who owns the data that's going out and who's using it and how is it being used? So I just want to leave that one there because I think that's an important thing that sort of jumped out at me that I think we all need to think about when we're using AI. Now, we've got a question from the audience. Since Eric Johnson is discussing AI, will he let us ask questions afterwards? I don't think we're going to have time for questions today, but I think if you join him on his show on Friday, he'll definitely, and you put the questions in the comments, he'll go
post
through
the
those.
question here and I'll try to address it in the show on Friday. So.
Yes, post it here and he'll address it. That's awesome. All right, let's get to our second article. So this one is about robot hotels. I don't know if you've heard about this. I actually didn't hear about it until I saw this article. But hospitality robots is going to be 2.2 billion by 2030. And Japan started this with robot bellhops, robot concierge, but they got into a little bit of trouble because the robot in the room apparently was waking everybody up because they thought snoring was actually the action item for them. To wake them up, which if I was in that hotel, man, would I be frustrated. So in 2019, this hotel fired 243 robots, which I think is hilarious because I don't know how you fire a robot.
There's just a bunch of robots like applying for unemployment at the local office.
Like, is this what it's coming to? But anyways, the reason for this article and the reason why I want to talk about this within supply chain is that they actually figured out that it becomes a hybrid option. The all robot hotel didn't actually work for them. And now they're doing a hybrid between people and robots, and they're rolling it out across the globe, I guess, in a variety of different countries. What they found was when they went all robot, that people want humans to, or they want the robots to have human abilities. And when they don't have human abilities, they throw it out the window and they want nothing to do with it, which I thought was really interesting when we're thinking about AI strategies and how we're thinking about our supply chains and how it touches the customer. We really have to focus on what that looks like and what people will accept and what they won't accept. Anyways, Eric, what did you think about this?
Yeah, no, I mean, people have, so I don't think we're at a point yet where like the physical manifestation of robots is like very accepted in current society, I should say. Like we're still not at a point like in the science fiction movies where we're like, we want like a robot, walking alongside us and pretending to be a human and us just like forgetting that they're not an actual human, right? And that seemed to be what this hotel was struggling with. Like there's all sorts of things that we deal with on a day-to-day basis now where an intangible robot, essentially a bot, is doing things for us, and we used to have a problem with that, and now it's more accepted. So like if I think about the way people in supply chain are talking about adoption of bots and AI sort of digital workers, quote unquote, is we need to figure out a place where both the person that's encountering those things is okay with it, and also that thing is not like completely undermining humans' ability to like do work and keep jobs, right? And so there was at the event I was at last week, I was moderating an AI panel because that's all I do these days. And one of the guys made a great point. He's like, you know, I'm a huge Star Trek fan, and in the 50s, you had Gene Roddenberry, the creator of Star Trek, envisioning what like space travel would look like in the future, and you have the like this amazing technology that mankind had dreamt up, but still the bridge where the crew was there were humans there, right?
Right.
And there was all these cool screens and all the information in the world, but it was all being presented to humans to make decisions on. And so he said that's the future that we still need to have. It's not like that. It's not just completely devoid of human beings, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree with that.
Well, we can't skip that step, right? We still need to have that step.
Well, we saw what happened. The converse of that was 2001, which was written around the same time as Star Trek, where essentially the AI controlled the entire spaceship and went crazy and tried to kill everyone. Sorry, spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't seen that.
Hopefully Audrey's not watching, because I don't know if she's watched that episode or not. But I think you had a funny story around Waymo being in. Were you in Arizona last week?
I was in Scottsdale last week. I went to the Sky Harbor of the airport in Phoenix, and I was in the car with the Uber driver, and they had torrential rainstorms in Scottsdale, like huge amount of rain in a short period of time. And evidently the day before I got there, a bunch of Waymos got stuck because they were driving into water that got too high too quickly and they didn't recognize. And some of the water got in the tailpipe of the car. And so the car just stalled out. But there's a feature where the car doesn't unlock until it gets to the destination. So you're sitting as a passenger in a car without a driver, that the car is like stopped working, but the car, the doors are locked. You can't get out.
Water's rising.
Yeah. And so it's, these are the kinds of things where AI, when it encounters the real physical world, it has to, figure out new things that it has not encountered before. Or sometimes there's just physical constraints it can't account for. So
yeah. Well, and there has to be, I mean, maybe not in that situation, but there has to be some grace in the fact that we are not going to be able to think of everything. And so we are going to have to be able to manage those moments when things like that come up that we maybe have not thought about.
Yeah.
But then we need to be able to manage them quickly.
As a human, you don't want to be part of like a trial and error.
No, you're really kind of test. No, I'm saying outside of that example.
Yeah. Right.
All right. So we've got two more articles. I don't think we're going to get to them, but I do want to get to this one. So this one is about how this is a great article. I don't know what you think about this, Eric, but I was super impressed with this article because Taco Bell has basically said, we want to be the future of AI. You can drive through and order tacos using AI. They tested it and then they've gone back a bit to the drawing board because it didn't actually work out the way that they thought. But they went into this article and they described what worked and what didn't work.
Yeah.
And actually, one of the biggest challenges were the humans interacting with the AI.
Yeah.
And funny enough, it's trolling. Somebody ordered like 18,000 cups of water.
Totally.
Because they wanted to see what happened. Right. Yeah. And so, it's really interesting, the interaction between, but a lot of us are using voice AI and phone calls to be able to do customer service and different things like that. And they had to go back to the drawing board because the humans, their customers, didn't like the glitches, the delays, and they were a little bit weirded out by it. So if you're thinking about voice AI, we've got to take into consideration, these are how humans are thinking about the interaction. What did you think, Eric?
That 18,000 cups of water thing obviously stuck out to me too. And so I think we see a lot of voice AI making its way into things like driver check calls in the trucking industry, where a human would be like, hey, how far out are you from the receiving facility? And now you have voice agent software that does that essentially and mimics what a human would do. I think the difference in like a supply chain setup versus a Taco Bell setup is you generally don't have teenagers who are playing pranks. Like there's no reason why a driver would be playing a prank on us. They have work to do, and they're like their pay depends on like being reliable and professional. And obviously maybe some of them would have fun with this, but we're seeing that same thing. And definitely there's drivers who are I'm hearing there are drivers who are very frustrated with like glitchy software. On the other hand, it's advanced a lot. Like it's pretty incredible, some of the voice software in the supply chain industry in terms of like how real it sounds, and it can be difficult to tell it's not a real person. So
yeah, well, and I think the lesson learned from this particular article is that everybody is pivoting.
yeah,
Everybody's overhauling what they originally thought was going to be the answer. And I think we just need to all understand that it's going to take time, energy, money, and resources to get it right for what that means for you and your supply chains, your organization. Even Taco Bell is trying to figure this out. So if Taco Bell is trying to figure it out, the rest of us need to give us ourselves some time and grace and testing ground and some investment money to be able to do that. Anyways, we've gone a little bit over. I do want to suggest we're going to put a link in the comments to Adam Grant's newsletter. He was talking about AI this week, and he was talking about AI companions. And I thought it was an interesting one because I talked about the Ohio bill banning marriage between humans and AI robots, so or AI chatbots. So go and read that, because that's kind of what's happening in personal life. 72% of teens are relying on AI companions. And so I don't even know what that looks like in adults, but it was mentioned on a TV show that I watched last week, in that one of the adults on that show was actually using AI companions to talk to them as a therapist. And so it's happening. And so go and check it out. It's fascinating. Eric, thank you so much for joining me today. I know we went totally over, and I really appreciate it. And
this is
thanks
like an
for
homage to my show because I always go over. So I appreciate it.
Well, check out Eric's show on Friday. Go and click the attend button. Hopefully he'll see you live. If you have any questions, he'll answer those on Friday.